Alright guys, well, talk about a letdown. I'm on my way back right now as I speak from looking at a dog. Specifically, a German Shepherd, basically a K-9, that I found online in one of the dog listings and dog boards on there. And they wanted $2,500 for the dog. So I basically sent a message over and asked, hey, would you be interested in a trade for a firearm? I'm a gun enthusiast. I have a lot of different guns. I'd be willing to trade something or a couple things for the dog. Let me know if you have an interest. So I get a message back that says, I gave my phone number. I get a text the next day that says, let me know give me a listing of what you have. So there were certain things I put on the listing and certain things I didn't. Okay, things I was willing to part with and things I wasn't. I sent them the listing of what I would be willing to trade for the dog. Anything that was unusual, like not a Glock or not something you see every day. I sent a picture from online of the price for the firearm, and they could do their own research as well. So I sent back a small listing was actually a pretty good size listing of things that I was willing to trade or trade in a combination for the dog. So out of the things I sent, what they picked was my LaRue Tactical AR-15. Yeah, that was one I put on the chopping block. Not my Daniel Defense. That's not going anywhere. So the LaRue Tactical AR-15, and they wanted a new Glock 17. I listed all the stuff I have, what was new, what was used, as far as unfired and stuff. So they picked a LaRue Tactical and a Glock 17 unused. And I said, okay, I would rather do that than to have a multiple gun trade. And I had 15 into the LaRue. I bought it brand new, but a guy had owned it. It was bought used, but unfired. And the Glock I had 425 in, Blue Label Glock. So I said, okay. And I got these pictures from the site online. And I'll go ahead and show you those pictures of the dog right now. Okay, so as you can see, those pictures are pretty phenomenal. Now, when I got to the people's place that had the dogs, the first thing that hit me was the dog did not look like the dog in the pictures. I believe it was, but it didn't look like it. First of all, let me backtrack and tell you something. There's a good friend of mine on here, a really good friend that I've not met in person, but I talk with. And his username is RazorJB, and he knows about dogs, and he knows about German Shepherds. And I sent him a message, and I sent him pictures of the dog in an email, and immediately he sent back a message that said, right off the bat, Paul, I'm skeptical where this was listed, the price. He said it looks great on paper. The wording that they wrote about this dog in the paragraph, about how it's phenomenal and once-in-a-lifetime dog and all this stuff. He said, it looks great on paper. He said, but I got to tell you, he said, I've seen a lot of dogs that had good pictures and looked great on paper, and when I seen the dog in front of me, it was, I'm going to use a different word, but he said it was crap. And he said, I'll never judge a dog before it gets in front of me, in front of my face. And I thought, wow. But this is the thing with this guy. You better want your friends to be honest and not just pat your back and rub your ear and say, oh, great deal, oh, I love it, go for it. And that's what this guy is. He's straight, and he's going to tell me the honest truth. And I knew he would. I knew he would. I knew when I sent him this info, I thought, I'm all excited to get this dog. I said, but depending on how it goes, we'll see. So to tell you the truth, I really wanted the dog. And even though he said that, he said you have to get a hip guarantee with it. I recommend, he said 99% of the breeders give a hip guarantee. And he said, what else did he say? I can't remember right off the bat. But, he basically was telling me that he was skeptical. He didn't say don't do it, but he was skeptical. So, fast forward, I get there, and the dog comes out. The dog just does not look like the pictures. The muzzle is very thin. Now, the dog is a year and a half right now. And here's something that made me skeptical at first, okay? The dog is a year and a half old, but the pictures were from wintertime when there was snow on the ground, which would have meant the dog was younger when the pictures were taken. Okay, that's cool. No big deal. But I wondered why there was no updated pictures, and I had asked for new pictures, and the person said they were working 12 hours a day, but, they would try, and they never got me pictures. So I thought, okay, they didn't give me no new updated pictures. The dog is 6 months older than the year-old pictures that was in the wintertime, roughly. And I thought, okay, the dog at any rate will be better than what it was. Not at all. The dog didn't look anything like the pictures. I do believe, I studied details on the dog's face, the curvature of the snout, and some other things on the face, so when I got there, I would know 100%. And I do believe this to be the same dog. The dog had a muzzle, and there was just a certain slight little curvature at a certain point on the muzzle. I memorized some things in my mind and with the coloring on the face, and I do believe that this was the same dog. Like Razor JB told me, the dog just didn't look good in person. It did not. Now when it would perk up and its ears would stand straight up, it did look pretty good. It really did. It looked pretty good. But it was a year and a half, and to me, it only looked like maybe 50 pounds. And they said in the ad that the dog was 70 to 75. And when I asked them on site, they said that the dog was possibly 60. To me, it looked like maybe 50. So the dog I was dreaming of from that ad wasn't the dog I seen there when I went in person. So now I'm standing there with the dog. I've been asking questions, and I'm mulling it over, and I'm thinking, And now there's another thing, another red flag. Guys, you got to be careful out there. Now I have a male, and I can't have a female in heat around my male. He'll tear a door down. He'll go through a door. And I said, when is her heat cycle? And she told me that the heat cycle would have been probably at least a month from now. What I seen was the dog licking itself, which is a sign that it could be in heat, and the dog was losing its coat, which I've been told in the past, the way its coat was just falling off could have been a sign that it was in heat. I felt this dog to be in heat right now. So what my plan had been was I was going to get the dog and have her spayed with laser surgery before she was into heat, and then Goro never would have had an issue, ever. And I feel she was in heat right now, and I feel that I wasn't being, that the person might not have been being truthful with me. Maybe. I can't say it for sure. I wouldn't swear to it in court. But I feel that they may have not been being truthful with me. I feel she might have been into heat. And that would have been an issue. Goro would have tore the house apart to get to her. He literally would have. Now, as far as the temperament of the dog, very, very nice temperament. She came right up to me, really didn't even pay that much attention to me, wasn't on guard, wasn't throwing any kind of signals. I petted her, and at first I pet her and she was just kind of facing straight ahead. I leashed her up, I walked her around. After I walked her, I leaned down. As soon as she could get her face to mine, she come up and was licking me everywhere on my face that she could get her muzzle to. She was licking me. I'd call her name, and she would kind of come back to me on the leash. She wasn't listening to commands. They said she was fully obedience trained, and okay, yeah, I didn't tell you guys this part. They said she was fully obedience trained and trained on the bite suit, the hidden sleeve, and the exposed sleeve, that she was fully trained. And I'd have to go back in a couple months once the dog's acclimated to me. They would put on the bite suit, and I would command the dog. They would coach me, and the dog would be right with the. I would be able to command the dog to attack, whatever. The dog would basically be under my control then. But even the person, the owner was giving it commands, and they were kind of doing the German, like the sits and plots, and they were using their fist, and the dog was kind of 50-50 on if it was listen or not. And they was claiming that the dog was fully trained, was fully obedience trained since young. So I'm standing there and I'm thinking and I'm thinking and I'm thinking, and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, the last thing I want to do is get a dog that's not going to work out at home or with me, and have to make this dog's life get thrown upside down and lose everything I got into it, lose my LaRue Tactical, my Glock, and have somebody else get this dog and lose. I know even if I sold the dog, I'd never get back what I had into her. And plus, the dog having to go from person to person would be very hard on the dog. And I said, so I told him, I said, I'm having second thoughts, and I don't think I'm going to do it. I said, my gut instinct is telling me not to do it. And the person was just kind of, they was just kind of like, okay, and kind of smiling, but I know, I know that they was, I know that they was feeling let down probably with it, or some kind of way with it. And I said, I apologize for wasting your time. And the person just kind of said, well, yeah, I could be sleeping. I just got off a 12-hour shift on midnights. And I said, well, I feel that if I got second thoughts like this and my gut instinct is telling me not to do it, I said, I feel I shouldn't do it. I said, I feel that it would be hard on the dog as well. It wouldn't just be me, but it would be hard on her. I said, and I don't want anything. I would like to have the least stress on the dog as possible. And they said, okay. Basically just walked away, took the dog in the house, and closed the door. It was one of those deals where I didn't want to feel pressured. Here's the thing. You have no idea how many people feel pressured to get a dog or to do a deal, whether it's a gun deal. I've went to get a gun before, and I've looked at the gun, and it didn't look as described. And the guy's counting on the money, I'm counting on the gun, and we go and we meet, and something's red flagging me. Well, it's better to back out than to be pressured into a deal. I've actually, back in my younger years, I've actually traded a gun before when I felt I was kind of losing on the deal because something might not have been as described, or there might have been a mark on the gun I was getting, or something I didn't know about. And I've actually, because I already had stated that I'll do this deal with the guy, I actually still went through and sold or traded the gun. I've done that before in my younger years. But you know what I've learned, what I've come to learn? And it would have been way worse with this, because this is a living animal. This isn't a gun that I can go sit in the drawer. This is a living animal. If that don't work out, you got problems. But I've learned it's better to just be upfront and do what you feel you should do. I went with my gut. I had to go with my gut feeling. Everything inside of me was saying, don't do this. Here's another thing, guys. I know I'm all over the place. This just happened. My mind is, I thought I was getting this dog today, and I'm sorry I'm all over the place. The papers weren't on the premises. She said the papers, the guy was there and everything. She said the papers are in my vehicle somewhere else. And the guy that was there had rode with her, and she did. At first I said, well, you know what? I don't like that idea of not having the papers here. She contacts somebody, says, send me a picture. They send a picture. I don't really know what I'm looking at, guys. I don't deal with dogs. She's saying, I'll mail you the papers. And the papers had the dad and the mom's name, and it said something on the title. And then she said, all you have to do is register the dog. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. I said, the ad said the dog was AKC registered. You know, and I was being nice about it, but I said that the ad said the dog was AKC registered. And she's like, well, the litter from this dog from the mother was registered, but she's not individually registered. Now, guys, I don't know about dogs. I got nobody to ask. I don't know about this stuff. I don't. Goro's bred before, but that was on the other end. I never handled paperwork. So I don't know if what that these people are telling me is true. Is it false? I don't know. You know, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. You know, I could have made a fatal mistake there. And then somebody's saying, I'll mail you the paperwork. Now, I wasn't their property. I wasn't their residence. So that's something that, you know, it wasn't like, hey, meet me in a parking lot at Walmart. But I'm just telling you guys, there was a lot of red flags going up in my mind. And, you know, I had told all kinds of friends and family and people I know that I'm getting this dog, and it's, you know, pretty much considered a done deal. I was so excited, waiting all week for it. And, you know, and it just, I couldn't be pressured into something that my gut was telling me don't do. That's all I can say. So, guys, better to be safe than sorry. And to my good buddy on here, Razor JB, I just want to say thank you, sir, for giving me the truth when most people don't want to hear the truth. When people are doing something and they're happy, a lot of times they don't want to hear the truth. This guy is the real deal. Razor JB, he's the real deal, and he gave me the straight word. And you know what? He was 110% right. I left out of that driveway, and I said I was a little bit upset when I read Razor JB's email, and as I drove up the road from that driveway, I said, you were 100% right. I said that out loud in my car. You were 100% right. All right, guys, well, there it is. I'm going home without a K-9, but that's okay. All right, guys, until next time, this is DOF, and I'm out.